Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to What's Up Wednesdays with the professionals at the Roundtable. If you like the podcast, please remember to subscribe, like, follow, all the good things, and share with your friends. Today, we are joined by a few familiar faces. Guys, do you want to give a refresher? Just remind them who you are.
Hi, I'm Meenal Patel, hypnotherapist and scientist.
Hello, I'm Dr. Danny Cohen. I'm a expert in acupuncture and oriental medicine and scientific as well.
And I'm Monica McGraw. I'm a licensed acupuncturist.
Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. Today, we are covering what I feel is a super interesting topic, talking about ADD and ADHD. But I feel like a really important place to start is being able to define and differentiate the two. Does anybody feel like helping us out here?
Go ahead, Pino Patel.
ADD is attention deficit disorder, and ADHD is it's hyperactive version of ADD, where basically the child doesn't sit still and is all over the place. That's crazy to watch, but I've seen that happen, and doesn't have an attention span at all. But I guess the definition of these things are quite interesting because people think all ADD, ADHD people have to be super hyperactive. It's not always the case. There are those that are super procrastinators, and they're also classified as ADHDs. So, in that way, I think the lines are very blurry. That's my opinion and what I've understood because I know my kids have been identified as ADHD. They're very calm people, procrastinate a lot. So, just
Chronic fatigue is defined as ADHD type of condition as well.
yeah.
Because when you in that fatigue mode, you can be explosive, compulsive, all this kind of condition. So ADD and ADHD also term as neurodevelopmental disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to what both professionals were saying, ADD, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I think it's really important. I think it was Meenal who mentioned it's defined by so many different things. And if you're, I think, a more of a biological science person, you're looking at literal structural brain abnormalities. If you're a neurologist, you're looking at deficits in neurotransmitters. And if you're a psychologist, you're looking at how do the symptoms kind of cluster, how frequent do they happen, and how much of an impact are they having on an ability, specifically a child's ability under 12, to be able to function in their life. So it's really interesting how, I know we think of autism spectrum disorder as being the spectrum of things, but I very much think that ADHD is also this spectrum disorder as well.
Yeah,
Very true.
absolutely. I feel like too, living in an age where, we spend a lot of our time online, I feel like I see a lot of people self-diagnosing with ADD or ADHD as well, where, oh, I forgot to do my homework, I got caught up watching a TV show, I'm so ADHD, where it's almost like a social media fad or a trend to diagnose yourself these days.
Mm.
Have you at any
So,
point run into that yourself too?
so when I look at ADD and ADHD, ADD in terms of like someone come across as it could be a poor development, like early on, long-term illnesses when in the childhood, and when they onset to life, they become much more uh, compulsive. It's like poor memory. Someone from a poor memory can be explosive when they cannot deal with the situation, right? If someone talk to them, they can go crazy, or they just don't pay attention at all. Or someone with ADHD, I would look at someone very impulsive, very aggression and hyperactivity. That's more of that direction.
Yeah, I guess here I'm gonna, this was something I was thinking to say later, but I'm gonna say it straight out right here. Is that what is creating this issue to begin with, and why are people saying it all the time right now, right? And self-diagnosing. Uh, in the end, like we talked about in the podcast for COVID, who doesn't have it anymore? You know, everybody's eating foods that are not local, not organic, they're GMO'd, their nervous system is messed up. Why? Because it starts from being vaccinated by what, 20, 30, 40, 50 vaccines when your brain is developing and your nervous system is developing. And then kids are having allergy issues, autism, ADD, ADHD. So it, to me, it's a clear sign, being a virologist and having created vaccines and things. Look, you're trying to tell a baby, oh, you've got a disease. That's what a vaccine does. Build your immune system, create your antibodies. It takes away energy from your development, okay? Because it's putting all the energy instead into making your building your immune system and making your B cells, T cells, whatever. And it's overwhelming, it's overloading. A child who's overloaded from toxicity, from foods, from vaccines, from, you know, everything that's going on these days, the way we live our life, and everybody's on the cell phone all the time, and which is blue light, which also is interfering with this. And then to answer your question is that when people are saying this, they're probably having an ADD, ADHD moment. That's the long answer.
My
Very
answer is
well.
not, I'm so sorry, not as technical as me. You know, I don't have the scientific background, but I do think that, and I have a couple of thoughts that may not all be connected, but I'll throw them all out there anyway. As far as diagnosis in general, I feel like there is a higher rate of diagnoses more as of late because I feel like we're becoming more aware. And I feel like we are realizing too that if we're not diagnosing early enough, then we have a lot of individuals getting diagnosed as adults. And by that time, sometimes it has impacted their life, and it's impacted their jobs and their families. And I think they're trying to proactively address that problem. I do think, though, playing devil's advocate to myself, sometimes we do forget sometimes our biases. So I do think there is a potential to overdiagnose boys. I mean, they have a lot of young energy as it is. And I think sometimes that can be an overdiagnosis. And I think sometimes girls were socially supposed to be quiet and reserved. And speaking to ADD, sometimes they go underdiagnosed. So I think sometimes boys get overdiagnosed, girls get underdiagnosed based on how we're socially, you know, conditioned in at least the United States. And as far as, like I said, adult, kind of throwing that word around, I think that some of it is legitimate. I think that there's a lot of undiagnosed adults who are now realizing that perhaps they do have ADD, ADHD on many different ends of the spectrum, from moments like Meenal said to maybe something a little more pervasive. But I think no matter what, and this is where I think acupuncture comes in, whether it's, you know, on this end or this end, when someone's making those comments in a serious way, maybe not like on a TikTok, you know, just a comment kind of a thing. But if they're really concerned, that's when I think it's nice to have something like acupuncture, where you can go get those branch symptoms addressed and not have to go down maybe the more traditional pharmacological
direction.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
So, from my perspective, in order to diagnose these or give a term to all those young children, this definition ADD, ADHD, we look at what may contribute to that category. like I was saying, is that kid could be look at how they brought up. Do they eat properly? Do they behave the way that everybody in the family? If they give poor, if they have poor diet, can create that weakness and symptom. It could be too much sweet, too much body symptom. That what contribute to the cause of that diagnosis. We look at deficiency could be from Chinese TCM itself. It looks like hyperactive liver rising could be the mindset of like uh, a person could be contribute to lethargic, fatigue. Some weakness in internal organ can play a major role in that kind of issue, because when overthinking, we call hyperactive mind, overstimulation can cause this hyperactive liver rising. That's one direction. We say categorize, break it down. What is the true meaning of this kid that having this ADHD? Internal system for that children might be need to be addressed before you throwing all this thing. So from Oriental medicine perspective, we look at those breakdown. It could be 4 or 5 category of this ADHD and ADD itself included. So we look at it as a breakdown. What really happening with that child to be diagnosed with those category?
We actually do have a question from the chat, which I feel like is perfect timing. How do you approach treating children with ADHD or ADD differently than adults?
So from my perspective, with hypnosis is great with children, right? It's they they just go in easily. Give them calming techniques, give them things to do, um, put it in the hypnosis session, and that's it. They're good to go. Give them some direction. ADHD, there's nothing really wrong with an ADD, ADHD, or autistic brain, right? They
Mm.
have abilities that normal people don't have. So I want to state that clearly. This diagnosis is identified as a problem. Yeah, there's some neurological things overstimulating, as Danny said here, right? And you need balance. That's true. But saying that, there's nothing wrong with the ADD, ADHD brain. It can do things which a normal mind cannot. So you just have to guide it a little bit. And because if they see a mountain, they feel overwhelmed. But if you can take those mountainous tasks and break them down into small molehills, and so they can accomplish small things and feel successful about it. So now they can check it off their list and move to the next. Techniques like that are very easy to help in somebody going through this kind of symptoms, at least on the hypnosis perspective. But also from what I've seen otherwise, these kids are too much on their device. Take the devices away, get them, as Monica was kind of saying, boys have lots of energy, right? Perfect. Get them outside, play a sport, get them in the sun where the sun's energy will revive them and make them feel better instead of being on inside. Things like that. Get your electrolytes, balance your diet. This is my approach. This more holistic approach.
What about anything? Because I know we have two acupuncturists as well. Is there a physical way that we can treat this too?
Yes. So from a young children, there's a many technique can be supported for in term of acupuncture therapy, whether using acupuncture needles or acupressure or aculaser. These are the category that can apply to young children. And like I said, we address the root cause of the condition. Good example: if someone walk in, quiet moment, very shy, I look at it, something that that person could be under. Uh, they don't have enough energy. They don't want to pay attention. They focus on their thing because their brain cannot function. You look at another kid like jumpy, restless. Uh, we call that is that kid is there's is internal uh, issue there, internal organ issue. We call substantial. It's not the substance of the organ itself. It's we call the energy of that may influences. I keep on saying this. It's hard to convey that. If someone say liver rising, eh, the symptom should follow with impulsive, aggression, hyperactivity. That's if you keep the kid playing game for a long period of time, that mind is like that overstimulated. That's why I agree that that's kind of kid need to move them to do simple like group activity, playing outdoor, get all this thing. Yes, but some other folks they said I cannot have the capacity to be able to function. I feel fatigued. I cannot focus. This considering as the ADD or the ADHD as well. And what if some kid who born with uh, delayed brain development can create that slow stimulation, slow development? That we look at them like, what's wrong with this kid? Like not inactive, not listening to the teacher so well. The capacity that they able to cultivate is not the same way. If someone have like feeding greasy food every day, what will happen? We call invisible phlegm will form in the spleen. The energy of the spleen is for create memory, right? You're able to put thought through. So when dampness, we call invisible phlegm, affecting like constipation, loose bowel, all these things, it's the energy source that contribute to this kid that having this issue. If you actually categorize kid that correctly, you will see that you know what? This is a symptom of this breakdown. They either they overstimulate or they don't have the energy. We look at the subcategory why they're like that. Because of we just the the best way to throw in ADHD, ADD, just the kid. That's it. But you never solve the root cause of the situation. If I would assisting this kid, I will address and look at what may contribute to that. It could be, unable to focus, cope up with the situation with the same classmate. Some people, it's 1 year delayed than other, right? So this category defined as uh, issue with proper diagnosis. We call lazy diagnosis. Let's throw them in ADD, ADHD. That's it. Treat them with relevant. That's it. But from my perspective, I would look at what may contribute to that. Maybe they don't sleep enough. Maybe they don't eat the right food. Too much of sugar base. Too much of a remember. Too much of sugar definitely will throw some lethargic with it. The threshold go up and drop so far, the kid go haywire. They're just simple. If you look at so many kids, they hiding candy in their pocket, whatever. Check their bedroom, you will find it. You know what? That's always stimulation, sugar based. They have so much sugar spike, and suddenly it crash. Like, mommy, I don't want to go to school anymore. Like I'm so tired. My stomach gets sick. My stomach is too painful. All these things, it's a pre existing that we overlook. To treat the children correctly, we have to ask question. what they really feel. How are their capacity in mental thinking?
I like going last because then I can add to everyone else's answer. I can use you as a crutch. I would say I love Meenal's answer about how it's about lifestyle, and that the first defense is proactivity, and there's nothing better than movement, sunshine, and a good diet. And then I love how Dr. Danny touched on this idea, and we kind of touched on it in the very beginning about how, Western medicine has done its best to address these clusters of symptoms, and they label them ADD or ADHD. And I love how Dr. Danny said in traditional Chinese medicine, it's actually, there might be 10 different ways of talking about this exact thing, because we look less at these two categories, and we look at more the symptoms in a more nuanced way, and we have
The root cause. Yeah.
the root cause, and dividing them down even further. And because we go deeper, we're able to then try to treat at that deeper level, from spleen G deficiency to liver deficiency to maybe like heart fire. So all these different ways of looking at it, and then adding on to that a little bit, and going back to kind of maybe the question that you were asking earlier, like, what do you do for younger children? And I think Dr. Danny did mention some really good things: acupressure, aculaser, just knowing that there might be some reticence with needles. There's also something I've seen other practitioners use called shonishin, which is like a brushing, rolling technique that is kind of like acupressure, but it's just another fancy name. And there's different tools for that. Massage. I know that there was actually a clinical study done that compared massage and Ritalin, and they found that the effects of massage were actually better in the effects of massage on the symptoms for ADD and ADHD decrease more significantly with that than the use of Ritalin. So massage is another technique that can be used. And I would say I would never throw out the idea of needles. I mean, you'd be shocked at how many kids, and I'm talking young kids, 8 years old, which is about the time that you're starting to get these diagnoses, are actually okay with needles.
I treat patient with 10 months old with the acupressure and also with the aculaser. So it works wonderfully. And remember, keep in mind, acupuncture and oriental medicine, especially acupuncture, we focus on the central nervous system. Remember, regulate the dopamine itself. It will show sign that someone is hyperactive. With one single needle, you can see that endorphin release, dopamine, calm the kid down. It's almost like it's. I think it's better.
It sounds like, sorry, I just want to put this little piece of information. Sounds like we all said the same thing, which is true. It's basically a dysfunction of your autonomic nervous system, and it presents in different people different ways, because everybody, it has a different body, where maybe somebody's heart has a weakness, somebody's kidney energy is a weakness, and it just presents differently,
Mhm.
so there's different way to treat, because the presentation is different, but it's affected the same system, which is the autonomic nervous system.
Got
Right. So
Exactly.
then, what kind of advice would you have for somebody then? Like, let's say they've been taking the medication, they've been taking Ritalin since they were 12, let's call it. They're 35 now, and they want to go off of medication. They want to take a more holistic approach. What kind of a toll has the medication taken on their body so far, and how can we transition them successfully?
Wow, a big toll. Lately, there's been a lot of people coming in who've been on medicines, whether they're painkillers or other meds, that affects their hormones, affects the liver, it affects the kidneys, because these are chemicals that end up having toxic products, and they are, your liver processes the toxins. And of course, if you're peeing these things out, it goes into your kidneys, and it affects these systems, and then they have trouble. A patient came in and it affected his bladder so bad. So he didn't realize, and he wants to go off his meds. And there's so much detox that needs to happen to bring the organ system back to balance. It requires time, patience. The problem didn't start yesterday. It started many years ago. So it's going to be a journey, a mental, emotional journey, because weaning yourself off these meds has a mental, emotional component. And many times people want to diagnose, if you send somebody to my area, right, they're going to say, oh, you have ADHD, you have ADD, you have autism, you have this, that. But technically, it's like he said, you end up with fatigue when you take away some medication because your hormones aren't working right. Your energy levels go down because of that. It affects so many systems in your body that we're not aware of. And now pulling that one chemical out has thrown off a huge imbalance, and you're addressing toxicity. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it can be done. It's going back to the roots of how we used to live, because
Mm.
look back just so many years ago, there weren't really this many autism, ADD, ADHD cases. They just simply didn't exist. Not just because we can diagnose better now, but just look back at your parents and their parent and your grandparents. Look at, there's more mental stability there. They had healthier foods, they were out all day in the sun. Their lifestyles were simpler, they weren't on cell phones. Many things have contributed to these things, you know so on my part, I'm going to say it's going to take time, but it's possible, and it's better to do that sooner rather than later.
From Oriental medicine perspective, or TCM, we look treating this type of condition depend on the severity of the condition. Sometimes you need side by side biomedical care also included. So we cannot say, okay, get off the medicines and focus on just complementary itself. It We also need those patients to be in the behavioral care or medication as needed. But as we integrate the two modality together, we'll see how it can be changing. Our goal is not to make to change a prescription from a medical doctor. Our goal is to work side by side together. So that's how I look at it.
I love that you said that, and I got to witness that firsthand. Dr. Danny had a patient a few weeks ago, and they were on anti-anxiety medicine, and they said, I want to stop. And I think it was, when you're the doctor or when you're the acupuncturist, you have this like assumed authority. And I was nervous. I was actually like, oh my God, is he going to say just stop and take herbs? And he didn't. He totally was like, listen, what you're going to do is you're going to take it like normal, and you're going to use the herbs. And then you're going to just lower your dose so small and so in such small increments over long periods of time. It was such a gradual shift, but he didn't just take things away. He also supplemented with other things. And he also, like I said, I just thought that transition, that gradual transition under supervision, taking some things away and adding other things in was just such a nice, organic way to do it. And I love that he didn't initiate that conversation, that you value it, and that you totally give that licensure to the patient and that authority.
So usually I always recommend that something like that, you have to talk to the doctor, whether changing prescription or how he want to titrate get rid of the medication. So in conjunction with the Oriental medicine, we cannot stop that. So his or her doctor has to make final decision whether they can stop or not. So
Definitely.
Well, we have a couple of, I think, impressively worded questions from our chat. How can we individualize ADHD care plans to reflect a person's unique biology and environment rather than a one size fits all model?
So, you want me to go with this one first?
Go ahead.
So, from my perspective, is that this question is very broad spectrum question, where I have to see the patient itself to define what exactly this person need. So, in order to answer that question correctly, I have to look at all the category that may apply to specific direction that I can treat or care for that person.
Mhm.
Do you want me to go, Monica?
Sure. I like going last.
Okay, fine.
It's dramatic.
Yeah, I think it has to be a bundle if that's what you're asking. Because for me, I believe the patient needs a lot of patients need to be handheld and walk through. And there's a mental emotional component which is different for different age groups, right? As I said, children are easier to hypnotize. Adults, there's a lot more digging because they have a lot of history. So I would start with emotional freedom technique first, and then add in the hypnosis aspect as needed. For me, that's how I do things, but I always recommend for also seeing an acupuncturist, seeing Danny or Monica, because that will balance out something different than what I will do. Also, there is the aspect of nutrition and diet, which they can help you with. And for me, I would recommend activities and things according to their age group and their energy level, what they're capable of doing, and obviously getting off screen time and things like that. So, all those things depend on where the person's at. Do they have too much energy? Do they have too little energy? Are they having sleep disturbed issues, which I would work on it in a different way than the acupuncturist would? But I think it would require um, mental, emotional aspect, the physical, energetic aspect that these guys do, exercise, the right exercise for the right age group and person and what they're going through to bring them to energy or away from energy. Diet and nutrition, I believe that for me, I would think it's a whole package that needs to be adjusted according to what's going on with the person.
So, if I could give you one example, when you look at a person coming into my clinic, when someone present poor memory, lack of concentration, mental fatigues, low energy, digestive issue, like loose stool or poor appetite, with anxiety or shyness, we say that is heart and spleen chi deficiency. Uh, we believe heart house the mind and the spirit. Then the spleen govern the thinking and memory. If this weakness, this organ become that vital energy weaknesses, the focus will be dry, right? Mentally tired, quiet, and unfocused. That stimulate this type of a one could be ADD itself. Just one condition itself. You can look at just the energy part of the spleen and the heart can play a major role of developing this type of condition.
I'm going to add to Dr. Danny's answer because I kind of was going to go in that direction. I think, and I don't know anything about what Menal does because it's amazing, and I haven't gotten there in my career, but I would love to hear more about EFT someday. But going back to like at least acupuncture, what Dr. Danny mentioned is like, to me, what he was getting at is like in the intake, asking the right questions, knowing what questions to ask to get the answers that you need to guide your treatment. And I think as far as what we're talking about specifically, when I think of ADHD, I think of genetics. And when I think of genetics, I think of the kidney. And when I think of the kidney, that's the first place I might want to start. Is I'd ask about constitution. Like, are they vibrant, full of life, or are they not failure to thrive, but are they on the other end of having more fatigue? And then I think my brain would go more to kidney. Maybe their kidney and all those questions that I'm looking at their physical self, and I'm like, you know what, I don't think it's kidney. Then I go to the next organ in kind of the cycle. And I think the next one, just going around, and the three that I think, maybe even four, that would be most affected would be the liver next. So in the liver, we talked about that energy rising and that having that very young component to it. I think if they had a lot of energy, I'd ask more liver questions. That, you know, I might look at their musculature. Are they very defined? Things like that. Do they run hot? Things that would lead me to those liver, liver diagnoses. And then the next in the cycle would be fire. So when I think of fire, I think also of the Shen and the spirit and the heart. So what signs and symptoms kind of go with the heart? And if those are out of balance, I think of sleep in that case. Maybe that's going to lead me towards diagnosing someone and customizing their treatment towards more of a heart deficiency or heart excess. And I wasn't going to do earth or the spleen, but it's so important also because of diet. I mean, are they phlegmy? Are they, do they have a lot of digestive issues? Do they have loose stools? And if I see that and I ask the right questions in my intake, that's going to guide me to treat more damp and spleen and stomach deficiencies. And then I don't really think water plays into here, but I could be wrong.
But here's my question to you guys in that same question this person's asking for acupuncture. Would you do more acupuncture? Would you do more herbs, vitamins, minerals?
Combinational is the idea. Let me clarify some when we call kidney deficiency. But it's the essence. We believe that kidneys store essence as we birth. If we birth delayed, or for instance under development, we tend to lack of that essence can affect that. When we talk about anything with, it's a substantial, it's not the what do you call it? The energy source. Not everything has to be vital energy source when we refer to any type of organ. So it's more like there should not be something wrong with the organ itself, but the weakness of the organ that provide the energy or provides the function that we look at that. How our TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or Oriental medicine look at it. So that's, don't get confused when we say kidney issue that the kidney damage or kidney failure. No, it's not. It's the essence or the energy of the kidney is not vibrant enough to be able to control or to give life force to the body.
So ADHD is not shutting down kidneys.
No.
That's a good clarification to make.
Want to be clear on that.
What are we looking at as far as longevity of treatment? So I know, like, stereotypically, like, you break your arm, you wear your cast for 3-4 weeks, and then you're done. You can take the cast off. Your treatment is done. How does the longevity of treatment look like when we're talking about something that's less physically presenting?
I'll go first because it's easy and simple. Did you just say that last part again? You said that's less easy in presenting?
Well, less physically presenting.
Oh, less physically. Well, I just have to say it's a lifestyle change if you have any of these conditions. You have to learn a new way of taking care of yourself. So it's just a full lifestyle change, and it has to continue your life. It's not like you said, like a broken bone that heals and it's over. Go ahead. You guys go for it.
So it's dependent to the condition of the patient itself. So we look at so many category. If, like, say someone come to me with digestive issue, sluggish, unable to like lose stool, all these things. We say we address the root cause of that. Sometimes when once the root cause is bring up to normal level, usually transition changing to that. Sometimes that's it. That's all you need. You activate the energy of the digestive function is the right way, feeding the right food to the kid, and that's it.
But is that not a lifestyle change? Because what if
Yes,
you
like,
too
it's
much
a life.
sugar?
I totally
Yeah.
agree on that. It's
Hmm.
a total lifestyle changing, but I'm talking about coming from Oriental medicine perspective. We address
Symptom.
specific root of each condition. It
Mhm.
depends on how the disease progress, how it recovered after each session. We say patient can see the difference within 2 sessions, how it improved. That's the lifestyle we're gonna change to. So once that recover, maybe that's it. It could be 2 to 8 sessions or just a routine checkup on this state of mind. Depend on the severity of that condition.
So is it more so just
I'll agree
keeping the
with
body in
both.
balance?
Sorry.
I'm sorry?
No, I'll go ahead, Tara. I'm so sorry.
I was just making sure I'm understanding when we're more so just keeping the body in balance. So as long as it's balanced,
Correct.
they're okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. What?
because before he said, sorry, I just want to say, because before we all talked about it, right? The things that throw off
Mhm.
and cause this issue, diet, all kinds of organ systems that are off, right? And it could be sugar, too much sugar that's throwing you off, too much screen time and getting those dopamine hits from playing video games is throwing you off, right?
Yeah.
Today's world, there's too much of that dragging you back into that behavior
Mhm.
to repeatedly, oh, there's sugar. Oh, look, we're at a birthday and there's a birthday cake, right? And you got candy as a gift. Instead of trashing that stuff and saying no, it's easy to say, oh, sure, I'll have some. And now you triggered your desire for more. So it takes effort and work even after it's like you balance it out, but you got to stay away from that.
What
Sorry,
were you
sorry,
gonna say,
Monica, go
Monica?
right
No,
ahead.
no, I'm doing my going last answer, and I agree with both of you. I think you both said such valuable things. I think that you have to. What Tara said, it's all about the balance. So I think acupuncture can help restore that internal balance. But you also, at the same time, what Mina was saying, have to also control that outer balance. And I think of, like a balloon. If you have a balloon and it's full of air, it's pretty resilient. You can tap it and press it. It doesn't like get all squished. So, and at the same time, so I feel like, you have to keep it full of air, your body full of good stuff, but you don't want to be putting yourself in a position where there's needles and pins and glass where the balloon pops. So I think it's a twofold thing. And I think it does depend on, and I guess if I had to lean towards one or the other, kind of going with what Meenal said, like, how much skin do you have in the game? Like, how much are you going to contribute to your own healing? And how much, do you want to contribute? I mean, here's an example. I know a woman who's so into health that she came in crying one day because she was doing so much to become quote unquote healthy that it was actually causing her more stress. So if you have a patient who maybe is coming for acupuncture and, she's getting the relief that she wants, but she still wants to eat the birthday cake. Maybe in her life, she wants to come once a week. I don't know. Maybe she loves all the benefits and she's okay with that. She has the financial ability to do that and she loves all the other peripheral effects of it. Maybe you have someone who does not want to come. They don't have the money for that. They don't have the time for that. So they double down on, their lifestyle and managing that. Then, I really think it's an individualized value piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like this does, in an odd way, tie in kind of perfectly with the next question from the chat. Just asking how important it is staying attentive early on. What signs should parents watch for in their children? I'm just going to say I feel like it's a perfect follow-up because if we catch it early, the lifestyle change for that kid is going to feel a little bit more normal for them when they hit 18, 20, 25.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you, it's easier to change the lifestyle, like you said, when you're younger. So now you have this way of living that's easily programmed. I'm going to say that, understand why I use that word lightly. I mean, it's programmed, into your daily life. I'm going to go outside and play and get some fresh air daily. I'm going to eat these healthy foods. I'm going to avoid things like this because I don't like it. So if you do it early on, they're gonna be like, I don't want sweets. I don't want sugar. I want to go out and play and I want fresh fruits and vegetables and I need to get to bed on a certain time. That's so much easier to work with younger children and help them create their lifestyle, what to watch out for. There's so many symptom lists everywhere. The best thing to do is go to your doctor, but these days it's more important to stay educated and understand what's happening, because what is being taught out there, you need more information on it, because these guys here, they treat the root cause, okay, and they treat it totally differently than what the medical system would treat this kind of thing. The Western medicine, a lot of times they wait and want to see what's going on, and then they want to medicate, right? Um, Doctors are taught diet, not as much as they should be. They are taught how to balance things out. DOs do that better than MDs do, because they're taught more how to balance body than MDs do. And it's kind of a lost art in the medical world. Doctors, you go in the office, say, I'm not feeling well. Okay, let me see. Open your mouth. Let me see where's the swelling. All right, here's your prescription, right? And if you have any more trouble, call me. That's what they do. How about getting some acupuncture, maybe some herbs, taking some vitamins, and doing things that will actually relieve the problem and not just medicating. So I would say go to a holistic health practitioner, go to an integrative medicine doctor, maybe. These things will help you diagnose these symptoms. They have tools that can help you diagnose what's going on with your child more readily, I think. Why not have a regular acupuncturist you go to for your entire family? See them once a year instead of your GP. You can see your GP, no harm done, right? Insurance covers that. But come and see your acupuncturist and see what they feel about the balance in your body. That's my advice on that.
I totally agree. So looking at uh, as a parent, they should be ideally keep check on their children, trying to find out, not just putting them to bed. If the kid doesn't want to go to sleep, it doesn't mean that uh, they they're awake. They're hungry. Because they're hungry. You're not feeding them or eating the kid eating the wrong food. Just listen to what the complaint of the children. Usually, you can get a lot of this information, and then if you say, I don't know, my kid repeating at this issue, so yeah, see all the provider, functional medicine doctor, acupuncturist, uh, anyone that can help at an early stage, very beneficial. We say Oriental medicine, we treat things at the early stage, so preventing causative effects of, we say if the energy of one organ is it's being affected, eventually it's gonna crap through the entire organ in a human body. So it's good to fix one issue. If you become two issue, it's harder. So yes, parents should carefully and listen well to the children complaint.
I'm going to agree with both of them. As a parent, I think that you owe it to your child to validate anything that's going on. And what's the worst that happens if you find out that, I don't even want to say worse. I mean, like Meenal said earlier, this is not a bad thing. It's not I know we call it like a disorder, but it's really just a difference. So if you know your child has a difference, you can then explore different ways to address that difference. And who wouldn't want to make their child, to give them those supports as early as possible. And then going along, I think with what Meenal and Dr. Danny were both saying, when you know better, you do better, and then you can go explore different options. And maybe that option is you go to a Western doctor, or you go to a more holistic practitioner or an acupuncturist, or maybe you do a combination of many things because you need to find what works best for your life. What I do, I mean, as a more holistic practitioner, I do value our model because I think we take a little more time with our patients. And it's not a slight on Western medicine, it's just built into how we operate. And I think because we take more time, we understand, I think, our patients a little bit better. And I think that we can provide more lifestyle changes, suggestions, again, going to those deep root causes of things. And to me, that's empowering. It's kind of keeping your body where it's at, knowing that you hold all the power. You have the ability to balance yourself with a little support. Whereas Western medicine, and again, this is not a slight on it, is they're a little more short on time, and it's more of a let's just fix you. And I feel like that comes from more of a broken model. So, but no matter what, I think if you see your child struggling, they're telling you, school's telling you, other people are telling you, validate, look into it, get help, and we're very fortunate to have many things to pick from.
I do want to say one thing, Tara, before so we have set up. First of all, Monica, you're too nice to Western medicine, but I've got to say that we have a couple of centers already open, right? One in Newtown, one in Doylestown, and a new one we're going to be opening in a couple of months in Levittown. And our goal is to provide a group of practitioners that are in this field. We have acupuncturists, Danny, Monica will be two of them, and we'll have Marvin and hopefully more. We'll have PT, we'll have hypnosis, we'll have OT, we will have shiatsu, we will have functional medicine, integrated medicine, all the holistic things, and some equipment like red light, saunas, and hot and cold plunges that will. What we want to do is when the patient comes in, understand what's going on with them, just like we're talking about. And you asked the question, Tara, is that understand what's going on with them and guide them to the right first practitioner, and then address nutrition and everything, so they can find a place, and they don't always have to just go to the traditional way, find a place that can actually listen to you, like Monica just said, and educate you like we are doing now, and provide you a way to balance your body, because your body heals itself. We're not here to heal your body. Your body does its own recovery. We're just here to help you know where the imbalance is and encourage the balance.
Absolutely. So since we're on the topic, you listed off a bunch of different modalities that are going to be offered as this new facility opens up.
Mhm.
Are any of them potentially beneficial towards people that are also going through ADD, ADHD?
Oh, all of them, all the above. Definitely acupuncture. See, if you want to hit, when you have an issue, this is my personal feeling and what I have uncovered working with people, is that we're not just body. You have mind, body, energy, emotion, and spirit, right? So if you have an illness or a condition, it's thrown off in all those aspects, not just one. Okay, so if you just go to somebody who's going to address one part of that, body, 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 that's what Western mentality does, right? You're ignoring the other parts that also need balancing. So maybe you'll see one practitioner, maybe you'll go see the integrative doctor or the functional medicine doctor first, or the acupuncturist first for so long. And then maybe you want to integrate the mind, mental, emotional aspect, and come for hypnosis or EFT or Silva method, and then maybe you want to go get some Reiki done. These things we're gonna have all this available. We will have equipment available to assist in recovery, and IV therapy. We want to have all that available. Doylestown currently has more of these things available than the space allows in Newtown, but we have whatever a patient needs right now. We have the practitioners available to help um, get the care that's needed.
Right. That's so exciting. So you said it's opening
Yes.
up in a couple of months.
Yes, we're working on the building and getting all the construction done right. And from what I'm
Mhm.
told, in a couple months, somewhere September, October, let's
Mhm.
just say, look forward to, if not before, look forward to our
Yeah.
new place being open.
And can I expect to see all of these beautiful faces when it opens?
Yes, yes.
All
Monica,
three?
yes. Yes,
Totally yes from me.
Well, Dr. Danny
yes.
has to come,
Hmm.
mandatory.
And
Hmm.
you too, correct, Tara?
Yes.
I'll be
You
there.
too.
Awesome. Well, I think that is just about all the time that we have today for What's Up Wednesday with the professionals at the Roundtable. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. As usual, What's Up Wednesdays is brought to you by Healing Your Way. Find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, all the places. Check out our website. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. And we will see you guys next Wednesday.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you guys.